Good evening, everyone. So nice to see you all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Light the candle. And we'll begin. Let's begin our sit. 15 minutes. Welcome, everyone. So very good to see each of you. Names and faces. Welcome, welcome. Um, because of the nature of tonight, I simply wanted to begin. Bill, I'll have to send you that. Did anybody else have difficulty opening the PowerPoint? Bill's saying that he couldn't do it.
I didn't have anything attached. It
Oh,
was just an email and there was no attachment.
that's why. Okay. I'll send it immediately after this. Um, so, if anybody else would like to say anything before we begin, just because it's been quite an emotional week for so many people, and want to make room for that for anyone who needs to name anything.
I'll just
Ed, I would
say
like to
that.
say so. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really quick though. I just want to say that the centering prayer practice has definitely been upped with all this energy lately and my other contemplative practices. And I just don't know what I would do without those practices. So thank you.
Thank you, Regan. Thank you. Kathy?
I would just like to say two things. Number one, I wanted to thank Judy, Judy from New Mexico, with her insight from last week when you said, after watching the video and talking about the police officer, that you had empathy for him. That really helped me this week because obviously we've had just to have another traumatic week. And so I heard you say that in my head, and I was trying to think about how to have empathy for the people who are probably put in just situations that they don't know how to deal with, and things are whatever, I'm not making a justification, but anyway, I appreciate what you said, Judy. And the second thing is that I don't know who said this last week, but we were talking about the word challenge, that God challenges us. And someone said that they like to say stretching us. And I was just dumbstruck by that because my mom, who died in 2018, used to say that people who have not been stretched really just, like it's just not the same for them. And just, if those of you who know me, like my family, we just had a lot of bad things happen. And so my mom was always stretched. And she would talk about the ladies who would cry and moan in her Sunday school class over like the most frivolous things. And she's like, they've just never been stretched. So I don't know who said that, but I just felt like it was my mom right there looking over my shoulder saying that this was the group that I needed to be in. And it just was like her speaking to me. And so I appreciate you guys so much for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. That means so much to me. I, it just reminds me that we are in a luminous web of interconnectedness, and that the Spirit of God is always connecting us to what we need. That's wonderful. Anybody else?
I wanted to see if the people in Chattanooga wanted to have the book club on Wednesday night after the supper at church. It seems like we haven't really gotten back after our break, and I was just wondering if any of us would be wanting to do that, meet this tomorrow.
So could they text you, and that would do it, or email you?
Well, I don't know that anybody has my phone number or my email, but I can put it in the chat.
Great. That's
Um,
perfect. I think that's the way to go. Thanks, Martha. I mean, Anna.
yeah,
Your mother's name is there.
yeah.
Anybody else?
One thing, Ed, I just sent an email to you, and in that wonderful writing by the bishop, he mentioned Casa Maria is a good thing to donate to. Could you or someone give me a website or an address or something?
Yeah, I will do that.
Okay.
There, we have a slide about Casa Maria tonight.
Okay.
And I think it may be linked, but if not, I can easily do that, Lynn.
Okay.
Thank you. And it'll be important to talk a little bit about what that is and what's going on. Okay. Anything else? This is good business we're transacting, I think.
Ed,
Okay. Yes.
my email from you that with the PowerPoint doesn't have a link in it.
I just discovered that.
Okay, thank you.
The state of my brain today.
Okay,
I promise you I'll send it immediately after this.
okay, sound good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anything else? Then let's begin. So, there's so much to talk about tonight. I'm still touched by those monks and their 2,300-mile trek. They're in northern North Carolina. People have brought them shoes to wear. Just by their walking, they are having an amazing emotional impact. I think spiritual impact on people. And I keep feeling them. Obviously, we're going to be talking about Alex Preddy a good deal tonight because what has happened with his killing and the response to that has been quite a powerful example of what can happen when the community comes together and takes action. I have put again the image that our communications person here created when we started these Tuesdays from Birmingham. Transform Prayer, Persons, Theology, and World. We're really focusing on a transformed world tonight, but none of that can be delinked. We can't have a transformed world without a transformed theology, without a transformed practice of prayer, without transformed consciousness. So all of this is a piece, and I like to start with the widest context. So we're going to hear from 4 voices tonight. But before we do that, I just absolutely had a thrill when on one of my social media feeds came information about the new theology, which I'd never heard about. Nouvelle Theology, a form of thinking that took place in the mid-20th century within Catholic theology. And I'm just really grateful to have these faces. And in this article, there's something about each one of these people. Obviously, I'm most drawn to Teilhard de Chardin in the bottom there. And he was seen as the forerunner of the Nouvelle Theology. Nevertheless, I just wanted to give thanks to them, because the energy that has come out of them, and then the people who have read them and written, etc., have healed me, or in the process of healing me. And it has to do with going back to a critical interpretation of the Bible, and also to look at science, and also to look at mysticism, as well as an emphasis on intuition, that God is working through our intuition. So this is not about Minneapolis, but it is about Minneapolis. So I just wanted to spend a second there. Now, I've kind of the entire Episcopal world has been grateful for Craig Loya, the current Bishop of Minnesota. And that piece that he wrote the evening of Alex Pretty's assassination, murder, horrible massacre, whatever, has been in emails, posts, and sermons. And I just thought that the theology and spirituality, which I do consider to be in the category of wisdom theology, would be worth unpacking a little bit. So let's unpack him, and then pause, and then go to the three other voices that I want us to listen to. We'll go back to the title of this particular slide after taking a look at some of the points he's making. I love people who name their feelings, because I think feelings are messengers. And for him to start by talking about how impossibly hard it is in Minnesota last Saturday, I really helped him. I felt helped by him. A state that feels under siege, and that people in Minnesota are doing everything possible to resist. And we know that it was not just Minnesotans, but clergy who came from all over the country, and also other people who came from all over the country. He named it reckless brutality being waged by the federal government. Well documented, that's not up for grabs, including today's killing of Alex Pretty. That next paragraph is really powerful, talking about something that is even more powerful than the brutality. And that is, in his words, we are mobilizing for revolutionary love. Vast networks of care, compassion, and solidarity organized by churches to deliver food and supplies to those who cannot leave their homes. That's the Casa Maria we'll talk about in a few minutes. And here's just a list of all the different ways people are acting. People are documenting the violence being used against us in a way that puts their own lives at risk. It's clearly an allusion to Alex Pretty. People are standing guard outside schools and daycares and at bus stops to protect our children from real risks of harm. Others are taking turns watching each other's kids stuck in online learning because some schools simply are not safe. Healthcare workers are bravely caring for people in hospitals that also are no longer safe and risking being targets of arrest and detention for protecting the patients. And a rich web of underground care and hidden love is taking deep root. I love the word web. It reminds me of Barbara Brown Taylor's book, The Luminous Web. It's a rich web of underground care and hidden love. And the fact that it's underground, and the fact that it has to be hidden sometimes, and nevertheless it's taking deep root. And I love the images of roots, and the deep roots and tap roots versus surface roots. And it's amazing to think what fruit that might be might bear when this occupation ends. And I love the fact that he is absolutely committed to and convinced that the occupation will end. And we'll see a little David Brooks about that in a few minutes. So, four things. He says that people throughout the country can help because Minnesotans cannot do more than we're doing. Here are a few ways you can help. Legislative action. I know that people have been writing, and I think it's really important to write legislators. 2, peaceful protests. That has really made a difference, I think, in Minneapolis. Humanitarian aid. Now, here's the Casa Maria. And so I will have to send out, and I'll send out with the PowerPoint right after this is over, the link to Casa Maria. When you Google Casa Maria, you get all sorts of good restaurants in Minneapolis. You have to go to the Diocese of Minnesota's website to get to Casa Maria to make that contribution. But the beautiful thing about Casa Maria, according to Bishop Loya, is that they not only are serving food this is a Casa Maria dining room in a church that's throughout the churches, but also they are sneaking food to people who are afraid to come out of doors. And they're finding where these people are trembling in fear without any food and getting food to them. And then the last point in these 2 slides from Bishop Loya is his theology, which I think is a non-dual, wisdom-oriented new theology. The greatest danger we fear right now is not the very real threat to our safety. It's not even the erosion of democracy. The greatest danger is we must not give in to despair. We must not be consumed by the very justified anger we feel. That's such a bow to healthy feelings. It's important to name the feelings you have. It's important to ask what messages they are sending to you and not be consumed by those feelings. The only way hatred can be effectively resisted is doubling down on love. The only way darkness can be defeated is light. The only way the forces of death can be overcome is by embracing every moment of every day God's unstoppable life. I just loved that phrase, God's unstoppable life. So before we go to another theologian, another wisdom contemplative, let me see what kind of responses people have. Hey, Ivy, nice to see you for the first time in a million years. So, any responses to all of that?
I am really impressed with the clergy who have not just taken a thoughts and prayers view of this,
Yep.
but that are really backing it up with serious action. The folks that were arrested, 30 or 40 of them were arrested the other night. The actions of the Diocese of Minnesota, it's not just say Hail Marys, it's action. And I'm really in awe of that and inspired to do more.
Thanks for naming that, Lynn. Even in your naming it, I'm feeling the inspirational vibrations here. Mm-hmm. So thank you for giving voice to that.
And I was also struck, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
By that phrase, God's unstoppable life, because it immediately reminded me of Thurman's wonderful, ask yourself what makes you come alive and go do that.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that is killing us right now is the numbness that comes from this chaos
Yeah.
and this constant bombardment of outrage. And so part of what I feel like is a way out of that darkness is this unstoppable life image.
Yeah.
And that on a daily basis, if we could get in touch with what are those actions, what are those beliefs, what are those things that in this day will make us come alive. So I just wanted to share
Thanks,
that.
Panky. As always, you put things so poetically. Who
And
else? Yes. Wendy.
hi,
Hi.
I'm coming as a voice from Minnesota because that's where I grew up.
Oh,
And
wow,
my
Wendy.
family's there and everything. And first, I want to just point out, which maybe everybody knows, all of this is going on where, the temperatures are like -8. So, I don't know. I'm saying this because I think we see so much on the news, and it's hard to really feel the people. Well, I can feel the people because I know these people, and like I said, when I see them out on the news and all of them protesting, I know how cold it is. And I have a cousin's daughter who has posted on Instagram, who lives right down in the area, about how they've had to, walk other people's kids to school because they're afraid to go out. I have my dear sister-in-law who is older than I am. Let's see, early 70s, been out protesting. And the thing that I guess I want to just say is all the stuff you hear and read about everything that people are doing and the activism and the grassroots effort, it's true. It's, people are really taking a stand and making sacrifices, and I'm so proud of them.
Thanks, Wendy. And the only thing that I want to add to that is the word community. It just seems that the more they get out there, they foster more community. And I'm hearing reports that the wealth and the power of the community has had an impact on Trump. At least he pulled the brutal guy out of there, and there's some changes that are going on. Thank you. Anything else before we return to the PowerPoint? Okay, let's get back to it, because I'm going to introduce somebody we have not talked about before. His name is Vincent Pizzuto, and there's some folks around who just swear by him. His kind of best-selling book is called Contemplating Christ, the Gospels and the Interior Life. A lot of people here in Birmingham who really swear by him. He's an Episcopal priest in Inverness, California. And he too is reflecting on the murder of Ms. Good and Nurse Preddy. And Vincent is just flat out calling these masked federal officers with no name identification on them Gestapo. He says if that moniker feels hyperbolic, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has already scrambled to defend Jonathan Ross's action. Jonathan Ross is the one we were talking about last week, and having some real feelings of compassion toward him being assigned where he should not have been assigned. to defend Jonathan Ross's action without naming him, while Vice President Vance has now said that ICE agents are protected by absolute immunity. And Vincent says that means absolute impunity. And absolute impunity of our government agencies and its armed forces is the very basis of a totalitarian state. Then he recalls Desmond's saying that the church must be reminded that it is not the master nor the servant of the state, but rather the conscience of the state. So Pizzuto is calling for condemnation of Christian nationalism as a heresy. It must be condemned by Christians. Christ never claimed for himself any nation, state, or kingdom of this world, and in fact flatly and unambiguously rejected any such offer in his formative temptations by Satan in the desert. That's what Lent's going to be about when we come into Lent pretty soon. To the contrary, the only Christ we follow, the only Christ who ever is, was, or will be, is the one who insisted without qualification, "My kingdom is not of this world." It's not of the world, but supposed to be in it. So there's another slide here about from Pizzuto. And here comes a very, very, very wisdom statement, non-dualistic thing that we've been trying to state as a re-narration of a healthy Christianity, and that is the us versus them duality. Once we accept the totalitarian narrative of us versus them. Now, just that statement I've never thought about. That just to say us versus them is a totalitarian narrative. But once we accept that narrative, we have become adept at turning a blind eye and a deaf ear to any inconvenient truths that would otherwise expose the scaffolding of our self-constructed identities as individuals, societies, and entire nations who need to believe that we are good, that we are innocent, and that we are benevolent. This is precisely the milieu of discord and fragmentation in which our demons thrive and in which totalitarian regimes flourish. It's what clears the way for the substitution of power for love. And as I continue to work on narrating all of this for my own health, my own healing, and hopefully a book maybe, I'm seeing that what the Bible and what all of religion represents is this tension between an imperialistic, power-oriented deity as opposed to a servant, love-based presence of the divine, that the Good Shepherd is, Psalm 23 is such a wonderful expression of. In any case, don't need to read all this. When we see American citizens being murdered with impunity by ICE agents on our streets in plain view, we know with perfect clarity and in no uncertain terms that we have witnessed the substitution of power for love in a state which has now taken full license to carry out our agenda efficiently and without conscience. Now, the next screen is going to get into David Brooks, so let me just stop here and see if anybody has any comment on the Pizzuto stuff. Then let's go back to...
Hey Ed, can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
Yeah, the notion of Christian nationalism or fascism is not new to me, in the past few years. How is it that when we interact with fellow Christians who take the more nationalist approach, I know it's like we treat them with respect and all of that, but there's an elephant in the room.
Yes.
And might you describe a scenario in which you've interacted with people that might be helpful to the rest of us?
Well,
with our friends.
yeah. Um, I try to say very matter of factly and non dramatically that supremacy is simply, there's no room for supremacy in Jesus. There's just no fiber of Jesus's thinking where any segment of the human race have any superiority to any other. I mean, he's so clear, particularly in Luke's gospel, about women. So clear. I mean, I love the definition, the fact that the shepherds are sinners, considered sinners in that culture, and they are the first ones to have the proclamation of the incarnation made to them by the angels. And the reason they're sinners is not because they did what I was supposed not to do as a kid, dance, play cards, and have sex outside marriage. But they're sinners because they can't go to the temple. And that made you a sinner. If you were too poor to make any kind of sacrifice at the temple, you were a sinner, an outcast. So that, I just get off on that. There's just no supremacy in Jesus's mentality. And supremacy is the cornerstone of Christian nationalism. So I don't know.
Well, if I can comment on that real quickly, I think the tendency for us is to feel superior over people who
Oh yeah.
believe that. And I think that's, we become the enemy when we.
Bingo. Absolutely. Very well put. Yeah, all of a sudden we've fallen into it. I mean, moral superiority is moral inferiority. The irony is always there. Okay, thanks, Ivy. Julie, welcome. Glad to see you. So, here we will go now to what I think it was a really wonderful piece that Brother David Brooks wrote the other day. And I just have one paragraph here because the rest of the PowerPoint is going to be from a sermon by my friend Rabbi Sharon Brous. But I'm just going to read this one particular paragraph. The name of the op-ed piece from the 23rd of January was "The Coming Trump Crack-Up." We are in the middle of at least 4 unravelings. The unraveling of the post-war international order, the unraveling of domestic tranquility wherever immigration and customs enforcement agents bring down their jackboots, the further unraveling of the democratic order which attacks on Fed interdependence and, excuse the pun, trumped up prosecutions of political opponents. Finally, the unraveling of President Trump's mind. Of these 4, the unraveling of Trump's mind is the primary one, leading to all the others. Narcissists sometimes get worse with age as their remaining inhibitions fall away. The effect is bound to be profound when the narcissist happens to be President of the United States. I'm going to stop there for just a second because I think that's quite a powerful claim on his part. Meredith, you want to?
Can I? My son told me. I don't know.
Hey, Maggie, welcome.
Hey, thank you. My son Troy told me. I don't know if you're aware. There's a lot of conversations on Reddit that they think he's being given Alzheimer's drug, which is given by IV in the hand every day. And if you'll notice, his hand is bruised.
You're right.
They've been covering that up, but there seems to be some evidence in that. So it might be a 25 amendment thing.
Yeah. Hope and I talk a lot about this. Just to go back to the Vincent Pizzuto stuff, where you're talking about, and this is the tension in the Bible, I think. Do we want a God of power who's almighty, or do we want a power of servanthood? The Good Shepherd. And what my experience is that to the degree we don't stay in the consciousness of the servant, shepherd, power with, and get into the power over, the imperial or king-oriented power, that second power is it's almost always going to go to overreach. And I think that that's what we need to brace ourselves for. So just that paragraph on this particular slide was a move on my part in creating this PowerPoint to go pastoral. I think that David Brooks is saying that everybody has got to get pastorally fortified for a time of widespread cultural and political unraveling. So I don't have a whole big sermon about that tonight. Anyway, it makes me extremely sad. But I do want us all to please understand that we have a responsibility as citizens to make sure that we are well cared for. I mean, I'm going back into therapy, just as an example. I've got an appointment with a therapist this week. And also this week I'm having an appointment with my spiritual director. And that I think I've just got to have that kind of fortification. So I just hold it out to you that to the degree you have a soul friend, get in touch. We don't know how or when any of these unravelings will take place if David Brooks is right. Okay, let's go back to that slide. Because after that one paragraph from David Brooks, I move into what was a pretty amazing sermon by one of my favorite preachers, Sharon Brous, the rabbi who established Ikar synagogue in Los Angeles. And she has a sermon here that I'm quoting from quite liberally, calling us to do more. And she thinks so poetically that I'm going to read some of it. Something marginal that would grow increasingly normative is an unrelenting rejection of the aspirational politics of hope and change, the promise that America could engage in a real reckoning and could become a true beacon of multiracial democracy rooted in the rule of law and just society, the people sharing rights, responsibilities, and opportunities. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't tell you that she's talking about 17 years ago when she had her son, who's now 17, and all of the hope that she was feeling in the country over Barack Obama's presidency, that there was really something that was changing. And she's reflecting that what happened, and we really know this because of the increase in gun sales that was so dramatic during the years of Obama's presidency, rather than a multiracial democracy of America rooted in the rule of law and just society. In its place emerged the politics of revenge. And all of this is the backdrop to the violence, the state terror now manifesting in broad daylight on our city streets. And she talks about the 5-year-old child, Liam, who's pictured there. I think that's broken my heart more than anything else. And that the ICE agents used him as bait to get other members of his family out of their house. Made this little boy go up and knock on the front door of his own house and beckon out his relatives. Now Liam and his father, who's legally pursuing asylum status in this country, they are now shipped out to a detention center in Texas where they await deportation. Liam is on my heart all the time. Here's a picture of Sharon. I believe our work is to discern, translate, and activate the deepest wisdom of our tradition. Now here she is invoking Sophia again, wisdom. She clearly, this woman, is such a student of Hebrew Scriptures, and she knows about Sophia and Shekinah and all of the presences of God that are alternatives or counter-testimonies. So our work is to discern, translate, and activate the deepest wisdom of our tradition, to honor the humanity of every person, an image of God, to learn to turn to one another with love even when our hearts are broken with fear and trauma, to work to find our courage even in the darkest moments, and to inspire our people to join hands and push back against that darkness together. So she talks about being invited to do a joint presentation with another rabbi whom she respects but disagrees with totally. So she was talking, and actually, those of you who know, we've been talking about Greg Boyle too, and Sharon, Rabbi Browse and Greg Boyle are buddies, and one of the finest conversations I ever saw was when her book came out, The Amen Effect. I should have put a picture of her book there. And he interviewed her at the Los Angeles Library. Nevertheless, so she and this Jesuit priest are good buddies intellectually. And so she was on the stage, and this other guy who is a rabbi who she respects, he doesn't respect her. He responded to what she was saying by saying that she was elegantly monocausal. He suggested that I was inappropriately using the pulpit to preach politics. Elegantly monocausal, huh? What? I have been wondering, is my monocause humanity, Torah, love? Is it my stubborn obsession with building a society in which the dignity of our neighbors is not trampled on the streets and then lied about in the halls of power? Do you hear me? It is not possible to serve God and the tyrant simultaneously. A message I wish the white Christian nationalists in the seat of power could hear. A message I wish every religious supremacist, including our own Jewish religious supremacists, could hear. The worship of God and the worship of power are fundamentally incompatible. You must choose one or the other. The text is clear. In the battle between tyranny and liberation, God stands on the side of the oppressed. Ready to walk with us, talk with us, sing with us, pray with us, marching up to freedom land. And then the wrap-up of this sermon, which she named Underreacting. She said, we are underreacting. And I got the close-up of that little boy, Liam, just to look at the sadness and fear in his face. God makes miracles happen. Miracles manifest in the form of human acts of courage, clarity, and solidarity. And to manifest that courage, we must be ready. Here's the call for edification or fortification. Our texts cry out to us any moment, literally any moment. can the inflection point between the world as it is and the world as it could be. After 420 years in Egypt, many of the Jews, under the impressive weight of Pharaoh's taskmasters, one night everything changed. So be prepared. Gird your loins, put on your shoes, grab your staff, get ready to go. This moment may very well be the moment we have all been waiting for. There is a better place, a world more attractive, a promised land, and that the way to the land is through the wilderness. There's no way to get from here to there except by joining together and marching. I mean, we've already had testimony about 70 and 80-year-old people going to -8 degrees in the snow, joining together and marching in Minneapolis. They were in the wilderness. They were in Egypt. Taking that seriously may make us a little too much like the Argolans for Ibn Ezra's comfort. It may make us a bit too political in some people's eyes, but to take Torah seriously means not only to rise when the scroll emerges from the ark, to kiss when it passes, to fast when it falls, but to hear and to heed its eternal call, to translate its timeless message into our time, to see in our sacred texts a mirror that we must hold up to the moral dilemmas of our time. A person who claims to be religious but justifies the abduction of a 5-year-old child is a heretic, a danger to America and an embarrassment to his faith, an advisor to the emperor who remains silent rather than voice his objections is a coward, one who will ultimately suffer the fate of Pharaoh's own advisors. And while a faith community that raises its voice with fierce urgency may pay a steep price, that community will be in the moral right.
Wow.
Let's breathe. Hey, Tanya. Good to see you.
I have a question.
Please. Hey, Nelson.
Hi. Deanne's here. She's just in a more comfortable place.
I saw her earlier.
She's with us, audio. The business about marching and protesting, isn't what we really need is a coordinated way to contact the people who are responsible en masse using the technology that we're using right now, just computers signing up, having what happened in Chattanooga when there was an issue about Moccasin Bend that really concerned people, and you had something like 8,000 or 9,000 signatures on a piece of paper that got the attention of the people who are responsible for allowing this to happen, and those happen to be our congressmen and congresswomen who are supposed to be public servants. And I'm looking for a way that the church can legitimately put together a way to communicate en masse to these people who are allowing this.
A big yes to you, Nelson. I think that Minneapolis is being called a miracle now because Trump did take Walz's call and did pull the bully out of town and some other changes have been made. So I think a lot of different things happened. And the beauty of Craig Loya's thing we started with, he does the both and of wisdom, of contemplative life, the non-duality. Some people are really called to be in the streets. I have been arrested. I've protested a lot. I know about a little jail visit because of my protest of the Iraq War, the second Iraq War. So protest is absolutely, and yet also exactly what you described. I love the fact that in Minneapolis, some of the stores said, we're just going to shut down. We're going to even boycott ourselves. They had a guy who was going to run, I think, on the Republican ticket for governor, and he said, I can't do it. He says, and Martha Stewart's 14-year-old granddaughter told her to say something, not to be silent. I mean, I think it has to do with everything. Now, I always, whenever I had a friend who wrote me from New Jersey saying, why weren't you in Minneapolis? I kept looking for you with all the religious leaders. And I think in moments like that of Toni Morrison, the Nobel Literature winner. She says, my job is not to be on the streets. And we just have to, we had a great sermon here Sunday. Kelly Hudlow just laid out all the different ways that people are called to do something, but do something. But the mass that you're talking about, Urban, the critical mass that turns it is so important. I went on too much. Other responses before we pray. Yeah, Maggie?
I had a dream after the election last year, and it was similar to what Franz Jägerstätter had. He saw during Nazi Germany, they were trying to get him to join the allegiance to the German army, and he refused, and he was beheaded. And he saw this giant silver train that everybody was running to, and that he said the train was going down, 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 down to hell. People were trying to jump on that train, and I saw that's what happened at the election. I had this dream then. What if everybody just stopped? What if everybody just, like the businesses in Minnesota, we're just not going to do anything?
Yeah.
And so I think that's one action. And I think we also need to get over denial that it's happening.
Yeah.
We've been in denial for too long.
Yeah, I think that's where David Brooks is really stepping in.
And so, yes, let's each of us do something, but not sit back. Thank you for this.
And please, everybody hear me. It's a both and. It's a call to action, and it's a call to self-care and getting yourselves fortified for whatever. We've got to make sure we're connected in community of love and support. Anybody else before we close?
I just wanted to go back to Nelson's comment about they're supposed to be our public servants. I think the operative word is supposed. I continue to write and call. I'm not even getting form letters back now. So both of our senators have decided they're going to vote for increased funding for ICE. So, It's the big money that's talking.
Wow. Thanks,
Well,
Martha.
I have put in the chat. I put the congressional switchboard
Oh, good.
because what I do is you call and say, Representative John Rutherford, and they connect you with the office. And I just have that in my phone, and I make a few calls every day. And the thing that struck me today, I'm in Illinois. I even called Tammy Duckworth, Democrat, about 11 or 12 o'clock this morning, and her mailbox was full.
Wow.
So they're getting an awful lot of calls, which is wonderful news, good news. And I just turned around and mailed her then. Good. And I have no idea if it's helpful or not, but it's something I can do.
We ought to do it, though. Thanks, Pete, reporting about both Georgia senators. And please note that Judy Lewis put in the Casa Maria link. It's in the chat. I will send all of this to you all as soon as I get off. I will send the PowerPoint and remember to attach it and send all this chat information. Anything else? It's 7:59 Central Time.
I'll take 15 seconds and make it. Tanya and I have been talking about the Sabbath and the role of the Sabbath in faith.
Yeah.
I think, I feel kind of helpless to do anything in Minneapolis when I live in Northwest Georgia. And so we've been talking about taking the Sabbath more seriously as a time to pause from everything and kind of like a weekly reset, purging of all the crap out there, turning it off and doing a little bit more throughout the day. On Sunday, what we did at the beginning of this for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I just think for the state of our minds, we just get wrapped up in all this stuff and we become it. And God, it's beautiful what God gave us a command, and it takes up like over 25% of the entire 10 commandments.
Yeah.
So it's just something to think about. Like, how do we take care of ourselves, to your point, Ed?
Very, very important. Hey, Thomas. Hey, buddy. Nice to see you. Hope's in New Orleans with our beautiful grandson. And Wayne Basin, it's so nice to see you. I hope your wife is doing well. And Pete and Martha Colvin are talking about the therapeutic value of just being here. It's really, really wonderful. Thank you all very much. It really feeds my soul. Namaste, everybody. Let's breathe a few deep breaths, and I'll offer some words. We thank you, O source of love, for bringing us into this circle, calling us to action, and also calling us to self-care and care of one another and care of those who are afraid. So may our being together have long-term benefit of nourishment, strengthening, and fortification. May this night be a night of deep rest, reflection, restorative sleep, and wake us tomorrow eager to be your instruments of servanthood. All these things we pray in the power of love. Amen.
Man.
Yes? Lynn? Bye, everybody. Thank you all, everybody. Love you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Thomas. Love you, Thomas. Hey, Bubba. I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye. I'll send you the PowerPoint now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, Matthew.
Bye, buddy. I love you, Thomas.
Um,
Kiss Hoppy for me.